was born in South Africa in a town near Johannesburg on February 4th, 1989. My mother's name was Daphne Kelsey. My mother was HIV positive and passed the virus on to me when I was born. Unlike a lot of HIV-infected children, I got to see my second birthday. But the HIV disease began to tire my mother out, and so my mother and I were sent to an AIDS center in Johannesburg. The AIDS center, called Guest House, was where my mother and I met Gail, who was working at the house at the time. After my mother became unable to take care of me, I began to live with Gail, who would eventually become my adoptive mother. Gail looked after me in all the ways my mother wished she still could. Gail wanted me to join school, but there was a lot of resistance when faculty discovered I was HIV positive. Through a lot of deliberation and Gail taking it into her own hands, I was finally allowed to go to school with the other children. During all of this, I met my friend Jim Wooten. Jim became a supporter of me and my family quickly, and it became more and more evident that he was closely involved with the HIV epidemic. After my adoptive mother won my case, I became eager and passionate about the disease that was taking so many lives around me and would eventually take my own. After I started school that year in 1997, my mother lost her life to HIV. I decided that I didn't want to see any more people suffering the way that the people around me were. I became really inspired by my mother Gail, and we began to work together along with many other people, including Jim, to fight against HIV/AIDS and the stigma attached to it. As my story continued, so did my friendship with Jim. Jim became instrumental in my life and my success against HIV. He also helped me support my mother in more ways than I could ever explain. Because of how much attention the case got against the school, my cause and my life got a lot of attention too. A lot of people wanted to hear what I had to say about the disease I was living with, and I wanted a lot of people to hear it. So in 2000, I got to speak at the 13th International AIDS Conference. I got to share my story and urge people to change the way they see those with HIV/AIDS. I wanted everyone to know that we are all the same. After I spoke at the International AIDS Conference, I got to speak at an AIDS conference in Georgia. After returning home, I got very ill. HIV took my life in June of 2001.